Christopher Cross Griffin is the second oldest of the Griffin family, the embodiment of the middle child trope where he tends to have free reign to do whatever he wants and is rarely acknowledged. He doesn't seem to take after either of his parents in appearance, minus some hereditary traits like his ball-shaped chin, weight, or prominent nose, but does share the intelligence of his father. Chris has been shown to be rather dim-witted, with a few episodes dedicated to some aspect of his failures in school, but has a rather odd acuity for film, which is often talked about when he interacts with Carl. For instance, to help Chris with a history test, Stewie and Brian go to help him by going on another time machine adventure that nearly ends in disaster when Chris time travels to the Titanic the night it sank. And for some reason, he didn't even know what the Titanic was. Oddly though, he was smart enough to fly a space shuttle back to Earth after accidentally launching it. Of course, the whole episode had him trying to prove he wasn't dumb to his parents by going to a NASA summer camp, and then struggling to keep up with the advanced knowledge of his peers. Even Stewie knows Chris is a weirdo. In season 18, episode 13, in one of Stewie's cutaways, future Chris is portrayed to be a weird loser who lives in the middle of nowhere far away from civilization, and spent his time teaching his own pickle to talk. And that's all of Stewie's imagination of what he thinks Chris will be like in the future. And I mean, by the way Chris currently acts, Stewie's representation of future Chris does seem like it will be spot on. Oddly though, Chris has had moments where his intelligence was more than his father's. Minus Brian, he seems to be the only other member of the Griffin family who can hear and understand Stewie. The running gag is that Stewie can talk but no one can understand him, but Chris does. In an episode where he ran away after Meg blackmailed him after taking money from his mother's purse for new sneakers, he knew about Herbert, the old pervert, giving him medication that brought on sleepiness and faked the lightheadedness Herbert expected. In an episode where he was feuding with his father, Chris made a trap out of 2 logs held by a string with a hat as bait. As far as I know, it is a simplistic trap, but it's impressive he knew how to set it up at all. Now, we can't mention Chris without mentioning his hyperactive sex drive. As a teenage male, it's understandable, but it's been shown to be excessive. In one episode, it was shown that his blanket had been turned solid from his activities, and joked of, "I think the washing machine might be pregnant." He also made a girlfriend once, a volleyball with a mop wig and a fruit for breasts, and had sex with it. My personal favourite was the rather subtle joke at the end of Amish Guy where he was aggressively churning butter. Then there was that one episode called An App a Day, where Chris was flirting with a girl and, acting under a suggestion by his friend Neil Goldman, sent an unsolicited picture of his pickle. The girl's father found the picture and decided to press charges, the result of which forced him to register as a sex offender. To get around this, he decided to be chemically castrated, which altered his behaviour in a bizarre way. He actually acted normal by our standards as adults, but in reality, castrating a teenage boy wasn't the best idea. Since Chris no longer spends most of his time jerking his gherkin, his grades actually improve, so he starts tutoring people. That and his effeminate attitude actually attracts the girl that started the whole mess to begin with. By the end of the episode, Chris's libido returns and he's back to normal, his version of normal. And then there are just some genuinely weird things he does for the sake of doing them. Like the time he asked Peter's also weird cardboard fixation Kathy if he could take his pants off before dancing around naked in the living room. Or the time he, with Meg, switched places with his parents to experience their life, where he ended up as a hypertensive drinker who yelled at his parents to do it so he could watch. There's also the time where he and Meg beat down an entire cafeteria of students in a parody of Kingsman, which was awesome, but honestly came out of nowhere. To counter all of this, the qualities I've mentioned are no different than any teenage boy in the middle of puberty. The only real difference with Chris Griffin is that, much like the show he originates from, the qualities he exhibits are just the qualities of a teenage boy, but taken to the extreme. Everything, save a handful or 3, give or take, is just puberty and its effects. He's weird how most teenagers are, unsure of who they really are, but expected to be an adult in a child's body, yet still treated like a teen. The absurdity of his situation, where Chris has ended up in adult situations time and time again, but somehow, most of the time, handles them better than his father, says a lot about who he is. When he created Heather, a fictional girlfriend, he exhibited better relationship skills than Peter did in that episode. When he broke his father's dirt bike and switched places with his parent, he navigated the corporate workspace at the brewery better than Peter. In an episode where Carter had injured himself in some way because he's old, Chris was assigned to take care of him because no one else wanted to take care of him. Instead of complaining, he decided to make the most of his situation and genuinely enjoy interacting with his grandfather. But he also had to be weird about it. In one of the moments of taking care of Carter, he taught him how to masturbate, but instead of Carter using his own hand, Chris gave him his own hand, which is just a little bit creepy since no sane person would want to do that for their own grandpa. Oddly, despite Chris being weird, immature, and coming from a bizarre family, he's shown himself to be a mature, responsible person who has a good heart at his core despite his age. Then again, at the end of it all, I may be looking too much into it. After all, it's an animated situational comedy that relies on fart jokes and cutaway gags to get a laugh, so a depth of character in a two-dimensional character would truly be the weirdest thing. Altogether, Chris is a product of his family and his surroundings. A strange, dim-witted teen who hasn't really matured yet, that's stuck between child and an adult in a town where the bizarre and wacky is a weekly occurrence. But he's still a weirdo who says random things, such as the time when it was New Year's and he shouted, "Some animals give me boners," which just completely shocked everyone, and we both know that Chris did not mean it as a joke. We also can't forget about the time when Chris got a girlfriend, which surprised us all, as who would honestly want to date him? The thing that makes this even more strange is that his girlfriend looked just like a younger version of Lois. It's very odd that Chris doesn't even realise his girlfriend looks like his own mother, but this goes even further to prove how dumb Chris is throughout the entirety of Family Guy. This was not the only weird relationship Chris had. He had another one that was briefly shown during his own cutaway gag where he rushes to the airport to find Ashley, who turns out to be a grandma. Chris and Ashley end up kissing, which makes everyone around them uncomfortable, and it definitely made us also uncomfortable watching it unwrap. In addition to this, in season 4 episode 19, Chris attempts to secretly record Meg with her friend, but fails. This is just another example of Chris's weird and creepy behaviour. We all know what his end goal with the tapes was, and he didn't even care that Meg was his own sister. We also have a few weird cutaway gags, such as the time when Chris randomly decided to suffocate himself with a plastic bag for no reason. Or the time when the Griffins won the lottery and became rich. Instead of Chris using the money wisely, Chris ends up hiring a butler to deliver him the finest glue to sniff. Or how about the time when the Griffins went to a water park and Chris was collecting bikini sets in his underwear? Overall, Chris definitely has some weird hobbies. And that is the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. We are the Screen Addicts, and we are addicted to the screen as much as you.